For Dr. Dusty and his team, the storm is about to become a life-threatening situation.
The tornado took off the back end of the hospital. Then the wind came inside and it blew the doors to the operating room open, which debris was flying in. And luckily, my physician's assistant dove at the doors and then pushed the doors closed. The patient's wide open. I was just trying to cover the wound the best I could while Chris was holding the doors closed. And I remember at some point, Chris looking at me saying, I don't think I can hold the doors any longer. And I said, brother, you got to.
Finally, after what feels like an eternity for Stacy, the refrigerator stops shaking. They can no longer hear the world outside crumbling.
There was like a calmness, and we all were like saying, I love you, man. You know, like, for me, I was quiet because I was just relieved. I just wanted to go. I wanted to get out of there. So we tried to go through the door that we came through, but there was so much debris in the gas station. We were stuck inside that cooler.
Things are no better in the operating room. With the surgery complete, Dusty and his team need to get the patient to the recovery unit, but it's easier said than done.
When we opened the doors of the room, there was a large pile of rubble and debris blocking the doorway. And when we entered the hallway, it looked like a movie scene, without a better way to say it. There were sparks flying. The smell of gas was incredible. I remember telling my PA, hey, do you smell the gas? And he said, yeah. I said, well, I hope these damn sparks don't ignite it. So we couldn't go get the gurney and just wheel it into the room. We had to go out there, crawl over the debris, grab it, and then crawl back over the debris into the room, put the patient on the table, and then carry the patient over the debris again and into the recovery room. It was just a surreal scene because they had moved all the patients from the emergency room into the recovery room because the emergency room got hit directly as well. It looked like a bad MASH episode in there. It was just complete chaos. Once we got done and got the patient to safety, then I clicked into father mode.
But with no cell phone service, Dusty can't reach his family. He has no idea if they're okay.
My physician's assistant and I went out back toward the parking lot, hoping to find our cars. It looked like a nuclear weapon had gone off outside. I looked at my physician's assistant, I said, I need to go home and check on my family.
Twisted metal litters the parking lot. The roads are blocked. His home is 13 kilometers away through the devastation. He does the only thing he can.
I started running.
"30 minutes after the first warning sirens, reports begin to emerge that an EP5 tornado has hit Joplin, Missouri. Survivors, now trapped inside the twisted remains of a walk-in cooler at a gas station, are desperate to find a way to escape.
We started smelling gas, and we thought the gas station's gonna blow up. We were stuck inside that cooler. We did see a little light above us, so we thought, okay, we gotta climb. And then a couple of the guys gathered like cases of beer, and we made a ladder out of beer. And one by one, we all just jumped out. I kind of stayed behind a little bit because I wanted to photograph everything in that cooler. I think I was the second to last person out. Once we dropped down into the grass, there was nothing left of that gas station at all, besides the cooler. It didn't look like a gas station anymore. It just looked like a bunch of rubble, you know? So we probably wouldn't have survived if we did not go into the cooler of the gas station.
As the gas station survivors come to grips with the destruction around them, Dusty takes off headlong into the devastation.
The streets were completely blocked. There was power lines down, parts of the street were just gone. There was no way you were gonna drive home or anything. I had to get home somehow. My home is about 8 miles from the hospital, so I took off running. I'm in decent shape, but I don't run. But at that time, I could have run whatever to get home, because that's all on my mind. And all I'm doing is thinking about my family.
After the tornado passes, a man runs into the church and tells Thad and his colleagues that Joplin has been wiped out. The city Thad grew up in, where his elderly parents live, is gone.
I knew after seeing the hospital being hit on TV that my parents' house, being west of the hospital, had already been hit. So at that point, I knew I had to do something.
Stacy stumbles into the street, stunned at the devastation. The 20 survivors from the refrigerator exchange phone numbers. In those few minutes, they've developed a bond that will last a lifetime. They hug before parting ways, in search of answers about their families.
My car was upside down. I start walking down the street, and I had my camera in hand. I started photographing the things around me. I just kept walking and photographing and crying and looking everywhere. I don't know what street I was on, so I just stopped by this stop sign that was like on the ground. So I sat there on the curb. I called my boss and, I was like, I'm okay. I don't know how to get out of here. And I just sat there waiting.
Running on adrenaline, Dusty navigates the 13-kilometer gauntlet home through twisted metal, overturned cars, and demolished homes. He's relieved to see that his house is fully intact. He prays his family is safe inside.
So I got to the door of my house after running that far, and as I'm coming inside, I kind of walk up the stairs, and they're in the bedroom upstairs. And I was completely soaked, obviously from rain, and my wife said, "Why are you wet?" And I said, "Do you not know what's happened?" And she said, "No, power went out however many hours ago. And, we've just been sitting up here." They had no idea, thank goodness, of what happened.
It's a stroke of luck that Dusty's family is unharmed, and evidence that tornadoes can cut a distinct line between utter annihilation and coming out completely unscathed. For Thad, when he makes it to his parents, he discovers the house is severely damaged.
Thankfully, they were fine. Shaken up, of course. I continue to walk through the house, checking to make sure what's going on. The roof's blown off part of the house. I see a piece of 2x4 that has gone completely through an outside wall through a toaster. When I look down my parents' hallway, I see pictures, one right after another after another. Not touched, not even turned sideways, just as if they had always been. There's a picture of my sister and I, family members, grandparents, still on the wall. And that's when you begin to realize how important the photographic image becomes. The very next day after that, I'm back at the church, and a gentleman come in off the street, and he found a picture in his front yard. He says, "What am I supposed to do with this? This doesn't belong to me. I want to get this back to them." That's when the connection starts happening. Now that's where the picture is becoming more clear of what we needed to do.
Inspired, Thad takes on the task of reuniting people with their lost photos in the wake of natural disasters.